What's up, everyone? Lou here. Today I'm going to be going over the major Affliction changes that are happening on the next reset and kind of give my thoughts on the direction that Affliction is going so far in Season 1 of Dragonflight. So, these notes were from a few days ago. There are two sets of notes. This is the first one from a couple days ago about some talent reworks, which all positive. I thought these were all phenomenal. Soul Tap being removed, big plus. It was really awkward to use because it was based on Soul Leech, and a lot of the time you were taking damage, in a progressive setting or in a higher level key or whatever, and you weren't able to Soul Tap because you didn't have the Soul Leech required to do it. And then on beta, it was absolutely busted because you could just spam the ability, and there was no cooldown, there was no requirement, nothing like that. So it was just an impossible talent to balance. So them just completely getting rid of it, I'm completely okay with that. Pandemic Invocation has been moved to row 6 and is now a 1 rank talent. Um, the 1 rank talent is pretty significant, and that is because if you look at the tree, just based on where it's placed, so it's saying it's on row 6, so this is row 4, 5, 6, so I don't know if it's going to go somewhere in here or if it's just going to replace Soul Tap. We'll have to see. But it feels kind of bad just taking 2 points here because you kind of want to get to Creeping Death and Haunt and maybe like these talents down here. And you just kind of have to either waste 2 points in it or build around it. So the positioning, and it costing 2 talent points for a not good ability, was definitely not ideal. Most of the time you kind of spec around it. So that's a pretty good change. Focus Malignancy. This is a pretty significant change. This is just one of the conduits that we had in Shadowlands. We're just getting 30% more damage, the targets that have UA. And according to the Warlock Discord, shout out to Motoko in the Warlock Discord, it's about a 6% buff for single target. So that is pretty significant. On top of all the other changes that we're getting, it starts to stack up because the single target damage for Affliction was probably tank damage, if not below that. And then the last talent redesign here, Soul Swap has been redesigned. Copies your damage over time effects on the target, preserving their duration. Your next use of Soul Swap in the next seconds will exhale a copy. We'll have to see how this works specifically. If it copies every single damage over time effect, including like UA, would we be able to have 2 UAs on targets now because it's a copy? It's not like you're swapping the ability. 2 Phantom Singularities, things like that. That'd be pretty interesting to see. We'll have to play around with it once it comes out and see what works and what doesn't. But this has the potential to be very, very strong on fights that have a big ad spawn, or like there's 2 targets or multiple targets. So this really good change. Hopefully it does carry over UA and all the other dots, and not just like Corruption, Agony, Siphon Life. Hopefully it carries over literally all your damage over time effects, but we'll see. Moving on to the changes that were posted today. Malefic Rapture damage increased by 15%, so we're getting 15% buff on top of getting the 15% damage, or the 30% damage here from the talent, because we're most likely always going to be picking this talent on single target. Drain Soul damage increased by 20%. Shadow Bolt damage increased by 20%, and PI damage increased by 500%. So obviously the Drain Soul and Shadow Bolt, filler spells, we use them a lot, so it's nice to have more damage on them. And the fact that Drain Soul does more damage means more execute damage. But the PI buff to 500 is actually pretty significant. It's 1 talent point now, so we're most likely always going to take it, and I believe it's around a 2% increase in DPS. When you're playing single target Affliction, And even on multi-target, you are generally refreshing in a pandemic window, so you're getting good value out of this. It's actually going to do some damage now, and it's 100% worth taking in the talent row. You don't have to build around it by going to Withering Bolt and play around it that way. So, awesome change. Destruction, random 5% Chaos Bolt buff. Not really sure why. I thought Destruction was in a pretty good spot, single target and two target. Um, its AoE is a little bit lacking sometimes, but in terms of single target, this seemed a little bit weird because I thought it was fine. But we'll take it. Better than nerfs, right? Because there are other classes. All these nerfs, right? But, yeah. Will Affliction be viable? I'd say yes. There are some good fights in the raid that Affliction has, its spot in, and it could be pretty good. The main issue is Demo stack cleave is really insane, along with the single target that Demo brings. It's also really strong. So Affliction is going to be a pretty niche fight to fight type of spec, but we will see how things play out. In terms of Mythic Plus, I still think you're playing Demo just because you're able to get your damage out so much faster. These are all great for single target buffs in dungeons, but right now we're playing Nether Portal in Mythic Plus. We're still blasting bosses. We're still doing AoE trash damage because we have AoE from our dogs and the cleave and spell spin and implosion and all that. So this definitely brings Affliction up drastically, but for majority of the content, we're probably playing Demo, if you want to min-max and play the best spec. But this probably brings the Sims up pretty close to Demo and Destro. So if you wanted to play Affliction, you're not really griefing your group doing tank damage anymore. So that's always a positive. But yeah, I'm pretty excited. We're going to see where Blizzard takes Affliction Warlock throughout Dragonflight. Also to mention that, we also benefited the most from Forset in AoE scenarios. I think it was like 10 or 11% compared to like Demo and Destro. But, getting Forset plus all these buffs, plus the rework on these talents, I think Affliction will be in a pretty good spot. But we'll have to see how things play out on the next reset. I hope you're all enjoying Dragonflight. I'm going to be uploading some more videos on Mythic Plus and Raid soon, so keep an eye out for those. But thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.